Phase Hero starts right now. Let me pull the microphone a little closer here. I got excited. I need to give myself a little space, but I don't want to give myself too much space. I want you to hear me. I'm BD, joined today by Aaron Perrine.
Oh, we have the power today, B.
We got a lot of things. We got a lot of things, Aaron. And we got Jamie Jurack.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know what happened to me this morning? I woke up and I sat at my computer at 11 a.m. Central Time. I don't know why. And I was like, where are my friends? And I actually was like about to text everybody. And I was like, what? Are we doing the normal time? And then this is the normal time. I don't know what planet I'm in or what time zone I'm on anymore. We got Jenna Anderson.
Hey, everybody. Your answer to your question was Jamie was probably asleep. So I'm glad we are doing the late show, definitely.
No, I'm jealous of that. I'm very jealous of that. Yes. I got home late last night. Thank you to Jamie for hosting me this week. I was in LA for was I in LA? I don't know if I can even say that. But it's a big week right now. Today's show, we're going to start by talking about Superman. Some of the set visit embargo stuff lifted yesterday. There's already an episode on the channel, on the podcast platforms talking about that, but it'll be fun to discuss a little bit about that. The Superman trailer is releasing tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific time. Jenna and I are going to be live with a special guest. I'm just going to set the expectation. It's not James Gunn. It's not, David Cornsweet. It would be cool if it was. I still think the person we have is pretty cool. It's a good friend of ours that's going to be on here talking with us about the Superman trailer, reacting to it immediately after it drops. Jenna's going to be dropping those knowledge bombs. So 6:10 a.m. Pacific time, 9:10 a.m. Eastern time. We will be here to talk about Superman. And then when Jamie wakes up, go to Twitter and see what she thinks of it as well.
I have never been more happy to not be a Superman expert. 6 a.m.? What are you doing to me, Gunn? No way.
So that's tomorrow. Please join us. Subscribe to the channel to get notified, all that good stuff. And then, of course, it will be available in podcast form immediately after, as soon as after. I do have to end that, go to the dentist, come back, and then do it. But we'll get there. We got Spider-Verse updates. We got Marvel Studios updates, Black Panther 3. Nova. We got to talk about Kraven. And then from that point forward, we don't talk about Kraven. We got to talk about the Sony Marvel universe of it all. Some big news that dropped, some more Marvel TV rumors. Thunderbolts got an update. And then we have DC stuff, new movies, new movie updates, all kinds of stuff to talk about. And our non-comic movie of the week that we're talking about this week is Jurassic World Rebirth. So that's going to be at the end of the show. All right. We got to start off talking about Superman, though. We got the teaser this morning. The teaser for the teaser. Jenna, I just want to hear from you on this first.
I woke up to this being shoved in my face through my fiance's phone, and I was like, did I get to the days wrong? And it's already like 8 a.m. on Thursday, and I somehow missed this, and my worst nightmare is happening. But I love that we got a little teaser for the teaser. I love the little footage that we got, how little it seems to show in the grand scheme of things of the movie, but how it shows just the color, the vibrancy of the universe, just the Daily Planet, having the Daily Planet look like it does in the comics and not just a plain boring office building like it did in the previous live action DCEU. This was just enough. I'm so excited for tomorrow. We'll get into it even further, but tomorrow feels like Christmas for me, even before Christmas.
Oh man, it's gonna be a good day. Aaron, what'd you think of this teaser?
Hey, I know where that's shot at. I know where that is. That's Public Square in Cleveland, baby. Everybody.
The last wrestling match was just a couple blocks over.
Right, exactly. I'm like, that was on West 6th Street. Holy crap. It's gonna be so fun for people that, especially the people I know, we're all joking around like we're gonna go in with our notebooks ready to cross it off. It all looks so inspiring already. The level of outpouring of excitement online for just a teaser for 4 seconds of whatever this is so high already that when this whole thing drops tomorrow, hysterics. This is why Brandon was making such a big deal last week about that Fandango ranking. You're going to approach people a week from now and it's going to be Superman, probably, most likely. So I'm encouraged. I'm excited to see all of it. I'm excited to point out fun regional landmarks. And this is definitely Public Square. I worked on this as a public arts project. Go ahead, Jay.
I also woke up and was like, is it Thursday? I got really confused when I saw this too. I'm with Jenna about the colors. This is the first time in my lifetime I've been excited for a Superman movie. Truly, because I love Donner's movies. Like, I think it's just such a great piece of work, and I think that this is going to be Gunn's own thing, but it's going to feel like Superman. And I'm sorry to that corner of the internet, but that just didn't feel like Superman. The last decade of Superman's. Sorry. So I'm really hyped. This cast. I'm really excited about Rachel because I'm a big Marvelous Mrs. Maisel fan. Everything about this, I just have full faith in James Gunn. I think he's gonna make a really beautiful, epic movie.
I think he is. I think you talk about that corner of the internet. I mean, I think there is so much excitement for this, and yes, there are detractors. I am a fan of the previous iteration of Superman. I love, a lot of what Zack Snyder did. Even I admit there's flaw. Like, I'm not sitting here like I'm not one of the Snyder people who thinks everything Zack Snyder does is gold. Like, there's definitely flaws in it. Like, there's flaws in everything. I really enjoyed it. That said, and I really love Henry Cavill's Superman. I think he was great, and I thought his suit looked fucking awesome. That said, I'm still genuinely hyped for this. This feels like an awesome moment. It feels like it just feels like they're marketing it right. They're doing it right so far, and it actually feels like I believe it's gonna happen. I believe that like the future of the DC universe is gonna play out. And yeah, I don't know. I love what came before. A lot of it, not all of it, but I am very, very, very excited. Like, I'm just kind of accepting it's over. Like, I've fully accepted it, And if one day Zack Snyder gets to make his Kingdom Come movie with Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill or something, great. I'm sure there are Snyder fans who will clip this and be like, "BD, remember when you said this is over? Remember when you said it was over?" For now, yeah, it's over. Okay, I would have loved to see it continue too. There are parts of it I would love to see, but we're here, and I'm very much looking forward to this.
Spot on impression, by the way. Really captured.
Thank you.
Can I just say, I know we're going to get into the set visit quotes and all of that, but there was one quote that like immediately stood out to me when the embargo broke yesterday, and it was the dropping the legacy from the title of the movie and basically saying like legacy implied looking backwards, and we want to look forwards, and that is the entire ethos of what this movie and this universe is trying to be. And like, I'm getting goosebumps even just relaying that, because it just is so true. And like, I think that ties perfectly into your point of what you're saying of like, you can love what came before, you can have complicated feelings about what came before, but like, you can't deny that like what is moving forward has the potential to be special.
Also, I want to shout out Alex Albin from Comic Book Club, who pointed out that I guess the image of Corn Sweat flying in the poster is definitely supposed to be him in the same blur from the Donner poster.
Yep.
And I hadn't noticed that until they pointed it out, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!" There's just too much to be excited about.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely not like, I mean, one of the quotes is that he honors John Williams, but uses what John Murphy does. I think that it's also interesting that legacy was the title. When you read All-Star Superman, I mean, Superman starts wrestling with what will his legacy be, because his mortality becomes a big focus for him after a trip to the sun changes things for our boy. So I think that was interesting. I think what the most discussed quote about the set visit has been David Cornsweet talking about the trunks. We all have wondered, is he going to wear trunks? Is he going to wear trunks? And then they finally settled the trunks debate. Yes, he's wearing the red trunks, the red overwear. And I found it interesting. James Gunn shared that David came to him on set, and this isn't the exact quote, but he essentially was like trying to figure it out. And David said, "This is a really powerful guy. He can shoot lasers out of his eyes. He can blow a car over. He could be considered a dangerous, scary individual. He wants kids to like him. He wants people to not be afraid of him. So he dresses like a professional wrestler. He dresses like this guy who you wouldn't be afraid of." And that's how they landed on the trunks thing. That's James Gunn said. That's when it clicked for me. And I appreciate that. That just to me is like David analyzing the character and understanding the character and understanding he's this alien. He does like he's away from home. He wants to feel welcome. He wants to be liked. And so how do you do that? Well, you just put on bright red underwear, I guess, and wear them over your pants. But it's a fun take. I found it fun. He said that the movie is inspired by Top Gun Maverick with the action and Game of Thrones with the world, how it's fantastical. And I also think he meant that like it's just established. We didn't need a Tyrion Lannister origin story to understand what it was. I mean, the whole show kind of was a Tyrion. Like all the characters got fleshed out, but we met them when they were in the shit. He said it starts in the middle of the action. And I think that also means it starts with an action scene. And that's really cool. So anything on that you guys want to talk about so far?
The Trunks thing, I was in the middle of the grocery store when the embargo dropped, and I like almost fell to my knees. I was like, this is so perfect. David gets this in a level that I didn't even think was really possible to have in like the modern superhero space, of just having that understanding of what Superman can represent to the kids and to the younger generation. There are the set photos of him like being embraced by kids as he lands in the middle of a public square, and I cannot wait to see how that scene plays out in the movie. Like, I think everyone just involved with this project seems to just get it on such a cosmic level.
Jenna, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, it's my favorite part of New Frontier.
Yeah.
Where Superman explains to Batman, he's like, hey, if you really want to be a hero, you can't go around like creeping people out, freaking people out. You need to be somewhat approachable. You know what I mean? And he kind of takes it to heart, and that's how he gets from the cane, purple gloves to a more modern, I guess, throwbacky version of Batman we all recognize. So it's awesome to hear that he like understood that, like instinctively. You know.
Yeah. I found it interesting how James was very quick to say the movie does not set up future DC projects. First he said does zero, but then he, reeled that back in and was just like, well, there's two little things, but they might not even make the movie. If something is in the movie just to set up a future movie and it takes even a little ounce of anything away from a scene, I'm not doing it. But he specifically said Peacemaker, and I think we know now that's Frank Grillo, who is Rick Flag in Creature Commandos, will be in Superman, will be in Peacemaker season 2. That to me is the obvious setup there. Maybe there's more to it, but maybe also Supergirl. Like, more on that tomorrow, I guess.
I have my theories. We know Mr. Terrific is in the movie. I feel like there's a world where he could maybe go over to Waller if Waller's dealing with like the Checkmate side of things, because he's been in Checkmate in the comics, or even just like Jimmy Olsen or the Daily Planet. Like, I feel like there's a lot of possibilities with that. Even just beyond that, we know these characters are still just going to exist in this fully fleshed out universe. So we don't have to have some sort of tease for what's next to know that we're going to see them at some point anyway.
All right. So how y'all feeling going into trailer day?
Great. Like I said, this is Christmas before Christmas for me. I am so ready.
Do you have anything you expect to see, or specifically that you want to see?
I don't know. I always with things like these, I always just kind of temper my expectations, because I always find that I'm the most happy and amazed when I go in with nothing and I'm just blown away. Like the Fantastic Four Comic-Con trailers, the first thing I can think of where it's like, I didn't even think it was possible to see the footage that we saw for that movie. And I feel like this is going to be a very similar sort of situation for me, of like, whatever I see, I know I'm going to probably love.
Aaron, what about you?
I'm looking forward to Crypto and Nicholas Hoult. Those are the things I want to see, because we ain't seen the dog. And the dog is such a personal part of this thing for James, because he adopted a dog while they were like making it, right? Little scruffy little guy. And that's really funny to me. And I'm not a dog person necessarily, but I would like to see it. And Nicholas Hoult, because all this stuff about the feel of it, and we don't have Lex at all in any of the stuff yet. I'm curious to see what James is doing there, because there's a lot of different ways Lex Luthor can go.
That'd be cool. Jamie?
I'm just most excited to see how David's performance differs between Clark and Superman. That is what I think the number one thing was missing from the last iteration, and I'm just really I don't think that Gunn would make something without giving us what Christopher did so beautifully, because that to me that is the pinnacle of how to do this performance, and that's what I'm looking forward to the most. And I won't be waking up at 6 a.m. That's insane, but as soon as I wake up, I will be watching it.
All right. Well, one sleep away.
Yes, we are.
Can we answer for C Black what he said here, B?
Yeah. Why does C Black with a comment? Why does Gunn keep taking shots at Feige? Scripts and movies connecting. I didn't see anything about taking shots at Feige. I think personally, I see Gunn just speaking from his experience, and Gunn has a very specific way of making movies that I think is more in line with the traditional way people like making movies than what Marvel does. And when he's saying like, we're not going to greenlight something without a script, I think he's saying like, I don't want to do the Marvel Studios method that we have heard of, like especially in that MCU book Joanna Robinson wrote, that they basically come up with some scenes and then write pages on the day sometimes. And I don't think that's the case all the time with Marvel, but I think that's what he's saying. Anybody else think he's taking shots? I don't think it's.
No, I didn't. didn't take it as a slight. I think that they ended on good terms. I do understand wanting to be your own thing. And I think that he knows how to do that. And I think that having his history with Marvel is going to help him do that. I never took it as any kind of slight.
It would be different if like Feige was mentioned by name in any of these quotes, but he's not. It's really just talking about franchise fatigue, third act fatigue, like having teases for stuff that ultimately doesn't pop up, having, I think he called it cameo porn at one point, of just having cameos and not having anything actually come out of them. So he can still talk about that stuff. Whether or not you infer that as a direct dig at Marvel, I feel like is kind of a personal thing, but I think he's just more talking about like franchise movie making as a whole.
Yeah.
Because we have so much to cover, I'm just going to say I agree with Brandon. I think that you get sometimes things said to you that you need to say this for the crowd because they want to hear it.
Yeah.
They want to hear it beforehand. Whether it's true or not, they want to hear it beforehand said out of somebody with some power. So there you go.
All right. We're just one day away from the Superman teaser. We're going to be live 6:10 a.m. Pacific time, 9:10 a.m. Eastern time. Phase Hero. No shots at Feige or Gunn on this podcast. Though I do wish I would have asked Brad Winderbaum in the episode that's going to release on Friday, not only about Nova, but if he had seen the Superman trailer. Like, are Marvel and DC comparing notes a bit? I wouldn't be shocked if Feige has seen it. I really wouldn't. I really don't think these are people who don't get along. I also don't think the trailer was like super finished until very recently, and like even the cast, anybody. But I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, let's move on to some other updates. We'll come back to DC around, later in the show. We got to talk about Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. I said some stuff on the podcast that really riled some folks up recently. I was just speaking what I trust to be real enough to have said out loud. That said, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse now has directors, Bob Persichetti and Justin K. Thompson, confirmed to direct it. I saw some people up in arms. Why aren't Lord and Miller directing this? This, to me, makes sense that they're directing it. It was said as though it was news and like they're just starting directing it. So producer Chris Miller said, Bob and Justin are not the new directors. They have been the directors of Beyond the Spider-Verse the entire time and doing a great job. They were just announced today. When's this movie coming out? Apparently not until at least 2026.
That bums me out, man. Like, I don't mind a cliffhanger ending. I really don't. I think that's exciting. But, in the history of filmmaking, it doesn't take that long to, like, come on. It was supposed to be out already in March. We were supposed to have this movie for most of this year already. But in the end, I'd rather it be good than rushed. I don't want to act too impatient because it's 2026 will be here before we know it, you guys. The time keeps, the older we get, the faster it goes.
I think, as we're about to talk about with the Sony Marvel of it all, in a couple more bits of news down the rundown, there's just a weird lack of planning with the Marvel properties at Sony. But there is a marketing approach as though things are planned. And I don't know, it seems to reflect on the filmmakers because they're the ones who become the faces of these projects. So whether it's Kraven or Madam Web or Morbius or Venom or now Spider-Verse, there's some expectation set sometimes through marketing that then makes us disappointed by the film. And in this case, Sony should have known that movie was never coming out when they first announced it to be coming out. That had to, it's hard for me to fathom that somebody tricked them into thinking the movie was going to be ready at that point, 6 months after Across. And that now has set the expectation of the conversation to make it all seem messy, to make it seem like the filmmakers are changing plans, to make it seem like something is going on where plans are changing, things aren't on track. Maybe they're back on track now, obviously, hopefully, I don't know. But it's just that was a bad move. And now it's reflecting negatively on the project, which could turn out to be phenomenal anyway. And hopefully does.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I think it goes back to what we were just talking about with like franchise movie making. And you don't necessarily always need to put out a release date for something if you don't, like, if it's not going to be ready by then, if logistically it's impossible. And as excited as I am for this third movie, here, like having all of this happen and then hearing like the crunch time to get Across the Spider-Verse made and hearing like, oh, different versions are in different screenings and they're only like micromanagedly different from each other. Like I just want to see the movie and I just want the movie to be good. And so I'm glad that we have directors publicly known. We're getting on track to that point, but like this movie doesn't feel real to me until we probably get closer to 2026.
Profit.
Well, the funny thing is that first I want to say there's people who are like concerned because we're changing directors. We're not really changing directors. From my perspective, I don't have this in stone or anything. There's about 5 directors that have made these movies, right? 5 or 6. And it is a rotating team, is a rotating cast. People get carried over from the first one, and then they dropped down to a producer role for the second, and then Kemp and them came in the second with Joaquin DeSantos and them, and then now Kemp and them has stepped back to a producer role, and one of the directors from the first one is now directing it with the second one as the co-directors. None of these have had one director. So that's just like a lot of mountains out of molehills from the word go. And then also, I think Brandon is right. There was never a world where this was going to be done 6 months afterwards, especially after you read all the reporting about working conditions and stuff like that. I don't think it's worth people being harmed, right? I know, Rachel. I know we'll never get it. I know. First of all, you could be talking about Tom. You could be talking about Miles. You could be talking about Andrew Garfield. You can talk about anybody. We'll get to that in a second. Brandon's going to have a ton to say. I'm going to lay in the cut for that. I cannot wait. I've been sitting here since 6 a.m. waiting for this. As soon as that variety report hit, I was like, oh, boy. This is a first ballot phase hero. But yeah, it's going to be fine. I'm sure that they had story structure laid out, but 2 different strikes and the working conditions and all this other stuff, sometimes real life gets in the way. It's happened a lot the last 4 or 5 years. We just got to wait. There's enough stuff next year without Spider-Verse. Like we're good with Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts and Superman. And is there another? Yeah, Captain America: Brave New World. And then there's another one, isn't there? There's another superhero movie as well.
There's Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Superman, Cap 4. There's I don't.
Isn't there another one in there?
Oh, I mean, no,
they moved Batman 2 further down.
Yeah,
Blade is supposed to be.
There we go. See, we got enough going on. We don't need Miles. Come on back at 26.
Oh man, some good news. Black Panther 3 is in the works. Some bad news. Nate Moore is leaving Marvel Studios, but he will make Black Panther 3. Nate Moore, currently VP of Production Development at Marvel Studios. He joined Marvel Studios in 2010. He was overseeing the writers program following Captain America: The First Avenger. He was a co-producer on Captain America: The Winter Soldier, an EP on Captain America: Civil War, Black Panther, Falcon: Winter Soldier. He was a producer on Eternals, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Cap 4. He was supposed to be an EP or a producer on Armor Wars, if that project still happens, and he will be a producer on Black Panther 3, but he is now going on to do his own thing, and that's good for him. I mean, a decade and a half of work with Marvel is a big portion of anyone's life. Nate has always been a pleasure to interview. I've always really appreciated his insights, and I think it's a bummer to see him leave Marvel as a Marvel fan, but as a human being fan, I'm happy for Nate, and I hope this is something that was Nate's choice, and he's going to go do his own thing and make a whole bunch of new movies.
It definitely feels like good terms situation. The fact that he's still going to do Black Panther. This is a normal progression. You work for a studio for that long. You're a producer. You want to go out and do your own thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of deal where if he's creating a production company, my company the logo has to be on Black Panther 3. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of they worked a contract, something like that. I think that this is if this was a negative thing, the news would have been presented differently. So good luck to you, Nate.
It's also a situation like you think about. James Gunn recently said that he thinks just for legal reasons he'll still be a producer on Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I really think that like if you're a filmmaker who launches a franchise within a franchise, you are just attached to it for as long as that franchise has the same name, basically, or any sort of tie to your work. So that might be Nate's role in Black Panther 3. I don't know how involved he'll be, day to day. He might be very involved, but it could be that too, like Jamie just said.
I like piggybacking off of what you said. Like Nate is a delightful person. I'm very excited to see what this ultimately looks for him. And it's interesting to me just seeing like what details we have about Black Panther 3. Of like it hasn't been really confirmed. We know nothing really in the grand scheme of things outside of Denzel mentioning it in the Gladiator junket and now this. So it's like it's interesting and like very positive to know like it is being worked on, even if we probably aren't going to hear anything directly from Marvel for like a couple months or another year.
I like Brandon Moore's comment. Between Denzel yapping and Nate Moore leaving, what a way to let the world know a third Black Panther film is in the works. I mean, how unconventional is this? All right, we got to keep it moving here. Nova Nova, the one time I didn't ask Brad Winderbaum about Nova in an episode you will hear on Phase Hero on Friday, is the time it got a new showrunner. Ed Bernero of Criminal Minds is the showrunner for the Nova series that is being developed at Disney Plus and Marvel Studios. He replaces Moon Knight's Sabir Prasada. I can't believe I didn't ask Brad Winderbaum about this. But yeah, this is exciting news. I am a little bit familiar with Criminal Minds. Like, it's a somewhat serious, very comical type of show. Okay, cool. I'm on board. That's kind of what Nova is in comics. Jamie's got a face that says, I have thoughts.
Well, I think it's interesting that they're picking someone who's known for procedurals. Is this show going to be a procedural? Which would be a very interesting take for Marvel. I'm not as well versed in Nova to know if that makes sense for this character.
I think doing a procedural, if it's pre-Thanos destroying Xandar, is great. Like Space Cop Richard Rider, and then it ends with the destruction of Xandar, and because they love a different costume in the finale. The finale is Xandar getting destroyed, and Richard Rider gets the full power, gets the world mind onto himself, and all that stuff, and becomes Nova. I mean, I'm down. I'm here.
Didn't Brad mention Star Trek when he's talked about the show before and kind of like how they're conceptually? So I feel like that fits space procedural perfectly. Like, if that is the vision for the show, it feels so different from a lot of what we've already seen from these shows outside of, Agatha, WandaVision, She-Hulk, where it's like definitely a more procedural sort of element. Like, I love seeing something like that in a big cosmic context. I think that's a really cool direction.
Brad, if you're listening, why didn't you bring it up, man? Now, I love it. And also, you think about Star Trek is an ensemble series too. Those Nova comics, like especially like the Annihilation stuff, where he's like with Drax and Gamora and a couple like other heroes. I mean, I don't know if we'll see. I don't think we're going to see Zoe and Dave, but I mean, it'd be freaking cool if we did. I'm also, I think inevitably those characters might get recast at some point. Who knows? I mean, Dave would have to put on 60 pounds again to play Drax. The dude's skinny. The dude lost weight intentionally. And Zoe just seems to be pretty checked out on playing Gamora and okay with the fact that it's over. But yeah, Nova has a showrunner, procedural, Criminal Minds with that tone. Very interesting. And it's still moving forward, which excites the ever living life out of me. All right. Well, Spider-Man 4. There's a lot of talk about Spider-Man 4 on the internet right now. Who knows what's true, but they're talking about Spider-Man and Ghost Rider teaming up. They're talking about Mephisto being in the movie. Talking about Charlie Cox's Daredevil. Talking about John Bernthal's Punisher. Michael Keaton's Vulture. Zendaya having a reduced role because of her schedule. Casting is underway for The Classmates. This is a lot. I have no idea if this is all true. This is just what's going around on social media lately. Do we buy any of this? I would love to see Daredevil. That makes sense. All the rest, don't know if it's true. Don't know if I want it.
I don't like going too hard in on rumors, but obviously if the Michael Keaton rumor's true, I'll be very happy. So if we're going to give life to any of these, that would be my pick.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's the Mephisto of it all is wild to me, given the fact that No Way Home was basically just a one more day. Like, we already kind of hit that. And I'm very curious if we were to dip back into that well, like what the story would even be. I feel like a lot of this just gives when Deadpool was in production and we heard rumors every hour of cameos that were going to be in the movie, and they ultimately didn't all entirely pan out. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. This movie still feels so far away from me, but I would like it if some of these things were true, but who knows?
What are you gonna say, B?
I'm a huge Punisher fan too. I'd love to see that, but I don't need Mephisto. I think Zendaya having a reduced role makes sense. I think we're gonna go. I think even if you're gonna have MJ as the emotional core for Peter, bring her back around through another trilogy. You don't have to resolve that cliffhanger all in one. But yeah, I mean, Michael Keaton's Vulture. Don't even get me started on that credit scene.
Do we want to get into the Variety report after Aaron shares thoughts on this?
All right. He's so defeated. I'm gonna give him a second to regroup. I'm gonna give him a second to rally. I just want viewers to not work themselves into a shoot. I warned about this when No Way Home came out. There was a tacit sort of group hive mind style acceptance that the next one's going to be street level and then Daredevil's going to be in it and they're going to be fighting Kingpin. And I was like, that doesn't make a ton of sense based on where we are. And unfortunately, I know the heart wants what it wants. And a lot of stuff has happened in the meantime. Maybe it will happen. Maybe it will. But I kept saying, I'm like, where does this go? Everyone's been yelling about how none of this stuff connects to the multiverse at all and doesn't resolve anything. How does having this random street level thing fit into any of that? And also, the main critique of the first 3 Holland Spider-Man movies is he's never on his own. He's never doing anything by himself. And then we're doing a street war where he's never not going to be with the other characters at the street level. I mean, whatever we got to do to get Echo and She-Hulk and them back in here to do anything, and maybe Anthony Mackie back in here, that's fine. But I just don't. I exercise caution. Just exercise a little bit of caution. I would love to have seen what Adam Barnhart had to say when they said that their Ghost Rider might be in this thing, because he's like, oh, but not like that. He's just Larry David himself every time. God bless. Miss you, Adam. Go ahead, B. Do it. Finish it.
Sony could have used Spider-Man all along in all of their Spider-Man villain spin-off movies that didn't have a Spider-Man? What? Well, that's the claim in a new report from Variety, but I'm trying to make sense of this and actually read between the lines and see if that's what actually is the case. Here's what the article says. According to one Sony source, the deal with Disney never precluded Sony from using Spider-Man in its movies that didn't bear his name. The Spider-Verse movies' profusion of Peter Parker's, Gwen Stacy's, and other various Spider people certainly bears that out. But there was a feeling within the studio that audiences would not accept Holland's Spidey suddenly popping up in a live-action film that wasn't a part of the MCU, especially after Spider-Man No Way Home and Marvel Studios projects Loki and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness established definitive boundaries to the Marvel multiverse. So, I actually don't feel totally convinced that Sony could have used a live-action Spider-Man in their movies from this, because those examples don't prove that. Spider-Verse is animated. The Spider-Man Noir series, which is later referenced in this article, is an Amazon series, and I'm pretty sure it's just called Noir and not Spider-Man. I don't think, whether it's because of Marvel Studios having an agreement, a clause in their agreement with Sony, or because Tom Holland's clause in playing Spider-Man, contract, however the wording is legally, I don't think Sony was allowed to use Spider-Man. If that's true, this is batshit insane. This doesn't make any sense. This is terrible business. They were fooled by Venom being successful, yet they still marketed Venom and Venom 2 and Venom 3 and Kraven and Madam Web as things that could potentially have Spider-Man. They threw a Spider-Man in the fucking Morbius trailer, and it wasn't even in it. It was a painting on a wall that wasn't in the film. So there is the fact that this claims the Venom success convinced Sony that they didn't need Spider-Man already doesn't make sense, because all the talking points and the marketing for Morbius relied on Spider-Man. Madam Web was this web that connected them all and didn't connect a damn thing. I know we get frustrated with Sony. We kind of joke about the Sony Marvel movies. We absolutely do. But I don't believe this is what happened. I really think that there still has to be some sort of clause in the collaborative contract with Disney and Sony, or in an actor contract that says there can only be one Spider-Man so long as they're working together or this person's playing it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Can I just say, I highly recommend looking up and reading the one clause of the Sony. I can't remember what year it's from, but there was like a list of traits that Peter Parker needs to have in live action at some point in the Sony licensing deal. And it is wild to see what is and isn't on that list, and what is specified of, like, unless it's not Peter Parker, you need to have these specific sort of things. That brings me to my point, which is, you didn't have to put a Peter Parker in these movies. You could have put any other incarnation of Spider-Man. The comics have gotten weird enough. You could have thrown Ben Reilly. You could have thrown Kane. You could have thrown in all of these other people who are technically Spider-Man. Or you could have thrown in Toby or Andrew or some other alternate version. You could have very easily made it work within the context of the individual movies without needing to go to Tom. I know everyone assumed it was going to be Tom, but it's just wild to me to hear this. I literally got out of my Kraven showing on Saturday and saw this report from Variety, and I was like, of course.
Part of me was like, did y'all see my tweet? Because I tweeted about this and I was like, I don't understand. There has to be a reason why they didn't use Spider-Man. And then like 2 days later, it was addressed. I know that's just my ego thinking my tweet had anything to do with that article. It didn't actually. But I mean, it's just people. It's reasonable to think this. Andrew
Jamie,
Garfield
please
is sitting
go.
there.
I think I'm chalking it up to it was a failed experiment. Like, like they're all these random little characters. Let's have fun with them. And here's the thing: we wouldn't be having this Spidey conversation if they had made good movies. Like they could have, they could have been good without Spider-Man. They just were. Like this, like they just made bad movies, and so now we're over here racking our brains on how they could have been better. And obviously, Spider-Man's the most, clear answer. But I think that it ultimately comes down to they gave it a shot. They thought this might work, and you know what? Not everything succeeds. Sometimes you got to fail in life, and in their case, they failed 5 times, 6 times, and that's okay. It's over. We're free. We are free from this now.
I just don't understand how the movies were so subpar consistently. Like I first Venom I had fun. Third Venom I had fun. Morbius, I sold my soul because of that trailer. Madam Web was bad. Kraven was just mildly, a decimal better than Madam Web. I just don't get it. But Aaron's got the popcorn going. Like,
For the audio listener, Aaron got up and came back with popcorn.
And made popcorn while Brandon was going because you need popcorn to listen to the rant. Let's go. I've been waiting on this like 3 days.
Yeah.
Jamie's right, though. Spider-Man wouldn't have made these movies good necessarily. Maybe if they focused more on using Spider-Man rather than teasing Spider-Man and having a balloon pop before you say his name, it could have been good. But say his name, he doesn't appear. I believe it's all over now. It is all over now. Kraven is the end of it. We have not given a review score. Jamie and I, after a night of drinking at the movies, recorded our thoughts at about 12:30 at night Pacific time, and that's available now. So we've shared our thoughts. We promised a 10 score from Faye's Hero for Kraven. We'll steer clear of spoilers. So if you haven't seen Kraven, you can listen to spoilery chats with Jamie and I already, but this is going to be our reaction, our 10 score. Aaron, we haven't heard from you yet, and you're the highest there on the board. What'd you think of Kraven?
Well, as I swallow, dear God, so I went and saw this probably long after you would actually have people in the theater. I texted Jenna after I got out of there and was like, wow, it's not great, but also severely damaged by not being in a full theater. There were 3 people in my screening, and I was like, "Whoa, boy, just tough crowd stuff that's supposed to have laughter." It's like one of those, I think Jamie's the one who showed this to me. Those Full House edits where they edit one of the twins out of it, so that there's like nothing in the reactions, like to do everything. It was like that. Aaron Taylor Johnson and freaking Russell Crowe are trying. Boy, are they trying. They're trying to do what they can do, and it is not cooperating with them. There is tons of weird Easter eggs. There is one unintelligible noise that does not get it. Yo, exactly. It's like I didn't experience it. And also, I don't want to harp on Brandon, but BD said there was no way anything was going to be worse than Madam Web. And I'm like, ooh, we are right up on that line. We are right here. They are like neck and neck, like right with each other. Like if I wake up on the right side of the bed, it's Kraven, and maybe Madam Web on the other. There's none of the charm of the goofiness of Madam Web in there. And I think that makes a difference too. Wait, TJ, you haven't seen any of them?
Wow.
And the Doomer, he said he got super drunk beforehand and it did not improve his experience. I'm sorry. They need heavier pours. Jenna, you go.
After hearing how BD and Jamie saw this, I regretted booking tickets for a 10:15 a.m. Saturday showing because it felt like this was not the right format in which to see this movie. But then it was delightful because our showing was completely unhinged. One guy sat through the Sony Pictures title card and the In Association with Marvel title card and then got up and left and came back several minutes later. And I was like, this is setting the tone so perfectly for what this viewing experience is going to be. I'm not going to go too much into spoilers, but like Aaron hit the nail on the head of it doesn't have any of the whimsy and the camp that Madam Web kind of unintentionally has. There's one line that Calypso has that is he was in the Amazon with my mom researching spiders right before she died, but without any of the charm to it. And it is just wild to hear in the context of the movie. I would have loved this more if it just was doing a little bit more weird stuff. Instead, it's just kind of there. Like the action scenes are fine. The performances are fine. Russell Crowe is having fun, but I feel like a lot of his stuff was left on the cutting room floor or kind of just like rearranged within the movie itself. But it's like not even on the level of being like a B movie camp midnight showing kind of classic. It's just kind of there. And that was like the most disappointing part of it to me. Yeah, to the comments, the amount of times her grandma just calls her by name, she just refers to her as Calypso at the end of every sentence. I was already dying. It was hilarious.
That's the drinking game. Like, I wish that we had known that ahead of time. Just drink every time they say Calypso.
No, see that's how you end up with liver failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so let's go around with 10 scores. Jenna,
Oh,
what
boy.
do you give Kraven the Hunter on a scale of 1 to 10?
I gave it a 2 on Letterboxd out of 5.
Ooh.
So no, you have to always know with Jamie and I, we have to get the Letterboxd metric out of the way first.
BB's eyebrows with
I would say like a 4.5 feels fair. Like I said, it is just like I saw a Reddit comment that said it was like the saltine crackers of movies of like you just eat, you consume it and it's there and it really doesn't have any flavor, but it kind of could. That is definitely where it's at. So 4.5.
Jamie.
You know, people are calling this the room of Sony Marvel movies, and I don't agree. That's what Madam Web is, because to me, Madam Web is bad, but I can keep watching it because it's entertainingly bad. Kraven is bad and boring, and that's unforgivable. How dare you evoke Tommy Wiseau for this movie? That is just false. I give it a 2.5 on Letterboxd, which is funny because for me, that's insanely low, and people gave me shit for it. Oh, Jamie, rating things too high. A 2.5 is too high. I rarely give anything below a 3, and if I get something below a 2.5, it's incomprehensible or offensive. And this wasn't really either of those things. It just existed. 2.5. That would math wise be a 5 here, but that feels wrong. So I'm going to bump it to, I'm going to say a 4.6.
All right. Aaron?
The Doomer in the comments says, I give it 1 Casamigos and 3 IPAs. If you add that all together, you get a 4, which is what I'm going to give it as well. Also, you might start hallucinating spiders, baby. You want to be careful with them IPAs. I don't know what the BMI is going on over here. You got to watch yourself. Be smart. Make good decisions. It's just like without the whimsy, without the charm, without a toxic music drop, although there is music drops in Kraven, those exist. Those are there. Inexplicably. Brandon's face. If you don't watch this episode, if you're listening right now on podcast form, if you're listening driving or whatever, thank you for listening. Come back and watch the podcast just for Brandon Davis' facial expression. We need a super cut.
Yes.
He's been so all over the place. We're so over, we're so back. The entire time
this episode started so fun talking about Superman and excitement, and now we're talking about Kraven. It's a fucking roller coaster. I gave Kraven a 4.4 out of 10. It's better than Madam Web because I can tell you what happened in the movie, and there is a coherent story being told, even if it means nothing to me. Madam Web both meant nothing to me and wasn't coherent, and I have no idea what even happened. So that puts us at a.
I don't think did Aaron give a number?
I have 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So that gives us a Phase Hero review score of a 4.375, 4.4.
Baby.
Is that our lowest in the history of us ranking together?
Absolutely. Yes.
Gotta
Yeah.
We didn't give Madam Web a good score.
But it was still higher than this because I think we
like
kind
when
of
we talked in our group chat separately because we've never done.
But so we were higher up on it than you were. So I think that helped like boost that number a little bit.
You guys just boosted this number. Me and Aaron were the lowest.
Yeah.
So 4.4 out of 10 for Kraven. It made $11 million in the opening weekend. That's like, I don't know, a week of production for that film. If that, dear, jeez. All right. We have a lot to talk about. All right. Let's talk about, this Disney Plus thing.
Yeah.
Aaron, you had an
Oh,
idea for this.
Oh boy, it's game time here on Face Hero. So there were rumors swirling around social about 4 possible Disney Plus show announcements on deck, and I thought it would be fun to play a game with my co-hosts where we all select one that we think should be next. It's probably going to correspond to what you believe about all of us. I'm just going to warn you in advance. If you know the hosts, you probably know how it's going to go. Your options are Nova. Was it Black Phantom? Right? Yeah, and Strange Academy and Hawkeye season 2. So which one should happen first and why? Who wants to go first, or do you guys want me to go?
We all know what I'm going to say.
Aaron.
Yeah, do you go ahead, B? Like break the ice with us.
I mean, listen, if all of these are, if we're going to get one of these, it makes the most sense to get Nova. Okay, that's not only the best character on the list, but also would be the most expansive to the Disney Plus folio. We go to the Cosmos, we'd get an epic new character. And aside from Nova, I think, Marvel should maybe pump the brakes on introducing too many new characters because they've done a lot of new characters lately, but there's room for literally one more, and that's Richard Rider. And it sounds like they're on their way to that.
Oh, man. I love consistency. I
Yes.
love just knowing what to expect. It's nice. It's like watching Bob's Burgers. It's
Yes.
nice. Do you want to go next, Jenna? Because this one,
Yeah, I can go.
Yeah.
So, Blonde Phantom, I think we might have talked about this when the rumors first swirled in the before times way, way earlier this year. I'm not picking it because of the casting rumor that surrounded it, because I still don't necessarily believe that that's necessarily going to happen. But even beyond that, Blonde Phantom as a character, she's one of the first female heroes that Marvel had in the 1940s. So it sounds like this would be a very like spy espionage sort of period piece. That really excites me. And that feels like something that we have really untapped in the MCU outside of Captain America 1. I would love to just see more of the MCU's history through this show. And it also has ties to She-Hulk because Blonde Phantom grows up, gets older. She reappears in the She-Hulk run in the 80s and basically is like, I want to be in your book because time keeps passing for me when I'm not being published in a book. And so I want to be in here now, and she can break the fourth wall and just kind of hang out with She-Hulk. So purely for those reasons, I think that would be a really fun show. I don't necessarily know if we would get it in the lead up to Secret Wars like immediately, but that would be a fun like post Secret Wars project, definitely.
I gotta shout this out to my guy Scott here. I want Nova, but will Cosmic be reeled back once Mutant Saga starts? Thank you for the 1999 there, Scott. You're too kind to us, my friend. No, I don't think Cosmic will get reeled back. X-Men have some cosmic stories. I mean, like one of their most important events ever is very cosmic. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to imagine any characters getting introduced right now with Secret Wars on the way and Doomsday on the way. It's hard to imagine anyone new fitting into this puzzle in a meaningful way that they're going to continue on beyond this. Like, I'm already like, Iman Vellani is going to be 26 by the time we see her play a high schooler again. Like at this rate, because like we don't have a Shang-Chi sequel, we don't have all the Eternal sequel. Who knows if that's ever going to happen? Seems like it's not. So it's hard to imagine Nova or anyone else being introduced this late in the multiverse saga thing. But I do think Cosmic is going to continue to exist in the MCU forever. All right, Jamie.
My pick was Strange Academy. And I think for the same reason BD just said, I think well, I just lost my train of thought. Joe Locke is getting older, and Joe Locke is getting older, and I think that like it'd be a good place to see Billy next. Also, a reason why I really want this is I don't know if I've talked about this on here before, but one of my dreams for when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was airing was I wanted a S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy spinoff so bad because I love teen stuff, and the idea of like a kind of a teen school show that's also magical would like really rock my world. So I would love to see a Strange Academy come soon.
Yeah, joining my middle-aged Avengers wish list. We're doing Hawkeye season 2. Congratulations to Haley. Congratulations to trophy husband Josh Allen. I need him to. I need the show to actually happen because there's a lot of stuff with West Coast Avengers coming up with Wonder Man. There's just the nascent Young Avengers of it all. Non-cruise ship edition. Would love that. It would be so cool to see. We all miss Jack. I don't even like holidays. I don't even like this whole deal. And I'm out here stumping for like, yo, do the season 2, follow up on it. Let's go. Jeremy Renner is like back and ready and doing weird light therapy and stuff to like do all the stunts again. Like, let's go. Like, that would be great. If I can't have Kamala like get season 2, like, then let's go. Get one of my other girls out here before they're all 90. Although I will say Jamie probably does have the strongest leg to stand on here because Agatha all along apparently had like the highest Disney Plus number of anything. So anything to get you back to magic probably is a good thing, despite everybody saying they want grounded stuff. The people want show tunes and Superman. That's what the people want. That's it.
All right, we have a lot to talk about. We are way behind. Let's get to Thunderbolts real quick. We got to start moving a little quickly.
Yeah, so EW put out a new preview of Thunderbolts, and Aaron had kind of called me and asked me to kind of give a little bit of a recap on one thing that's in the picture, because you can see a OXE logo on the like vests being used by the people around Val. So that is a very, very recent invention in Marvel Comics. Like, it literally only came out in the Thunderbolts run that just debuted at the end of last year. And it's essentially this military arm of a secret cabal that Val is part of in the comics. And it was kind of set up in a Captain America run that was somewhat recent. And it just kind of helps kickstart the Thunderbolts team in the most recent incarnation. So I find it really interesting that we're getting comic lore that is that recent already in a movie. It makes me curious, like, what synergy had to happen there to make something happen first. But I find that really cool that we're dipping into stuff that just got published.
Sorry, I was sending a message. Val, the owner of Avengers Tower. I actually was. We got this photo too. I meant to pull this photo up. Yeah. All right. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. Do we have anything on Thunder? I was very checked out there for a second.
Yeah, you're good.
Do we have anything on the Thunderbolts front we want to talk about before switching over to DC?
Jamie has a quote.
Well, yeah, Julie Louis-Dreyfus talked to EW about Val's motivations, and she talked about how she's getting the chance to explore Val's character. You get to see her entire plan unfold, and she says her intentions aren't necessarily pure, which I think is not surprising. But I love her as this character. I'm excited to dive a little deeper.
I'm excited to see how the hell she bought Avengers Tower and never told anybody. All right, we got to pop over to DC real quick. Jenna, can you head up to DC because my computer's dying and I got to go get my charger?
Absolutely. So late last week, it was confirmed that DC has 2 new release dates. They have a Clayface movie, which will be written by Mike Flanagan. There isn't a director set yet, but people are definitely theorizing it could be Mike Flanagan, depending on his schedule with the Exorcist reboot. So it will be set in the DC universe. It'll be live action, and reports are saying the budget is $40 million, which is great because I'm very curious to see how the different sizes of budgets work in a franchise like this. If you want to hear me yap about it, I have a whole video on my channel that has performed surprisingly well, so you can go hear that more in depth. But Jamie made the biggest face when I said this news, so I want to hear what you have to think.
I'm so excited about this. Clayface is such a fun character, and there's so many things you can do with Clayface. And Mike Flanagan, amazing. Mike Flanagan rarely misses, in my opinion. And the thing is, like, he has to direct it. I understand why, like, they don't want to say yet because of, like you said, schedules and everything, but I'll be so disappointed if he doesn't direct this. And I just think that they'll make it work. I really do think that it's going to come down to him directing it. Also, I want to know who's playing Clayface. I feel like Alan Tudyk, 3 for 3. I think he could really do it in live action too. I don't know if that's like too much of a good thing, but I wouldn't be mad about it.
I could see him voicing Clayface, and then maybe we have a different person as Basil Karlo, like the human version of him. Because I also feel like Flanagan is probably going to dip into like his repertoire of people who have worked with him on other projects. Like, he's going to be writing roles for people that he's worked with on other things, and that is exciting to see them in the DCU too. I realized I didn't say the release date. It's September 11th, 2026. And then the second movie that's announced, also in the news that came out last week, was Dynamic Duo, which was announced earlier this year. It has a release date of June 30th, 2028. It is a animated movie that will follow Dick Grayson and Jason Todd kind of as before they become Robins, seemingly. And it's being made by Swaybox, who is an animation studio that uses puppetry and live action and claymation and all of these different elements together. So if you haven't already look up their reels of the stuff that they've made previously, because it's going to just look incredible. I'm very excited for this one.
I find the Matt Reeves of it all to be the interesting takeaway from my tinfoil hat, but I also think that goes back to some of the contract stuff we talked about earlier. This dude's overseeing Batman stuff, despite both of these being DC Universe projects. Reeves getting the producer credits on both, I think, is just because they're Bat characters, and I don't think that's any indication that the Batman is going to fold into the DC Universe, as some people are starting to question. But also on the Clayface front, I think that's going to be cool. I think Flanagan writing that is great. I think that I know they're going to start production on that in the beginning of the year, shortly after Supergirl production begins. So that's exciting. Last thing here is Batman 2 release date. October 2nd, 2026. That's very shortly after that Clayface movie. Matt Reeves just today said that he's still finishing up the script. They're going to shoot next year. That update just came out just before we went live in that Phase Hero on that Variety interview with Zoe Kravitz. Do we think it's making that date? Go around real quick.
I'm going to say no, because DC supposedly also booked a March 2027 date, and I could see it being delayed to that point. I feel like that gives them a little bit more time to possibly get together. The memes about people wanting Matt Reeves to finish the script have been worth all of this, but it does hurt knowing that this movie's taking so long.
Things take time. I think Jenna's right about 27. I don't know. Like, when it's done, man. Not like James doesn't have other stuff to release in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be well fed. Like, in the meantime, we'll be all right.
The first movie got pushed back a whole lot, so let's just continue with tradition.
Yeah, I say no way. I can't believe we're getting GTA 6 before Spider-Verse and Batman 2, but we are. Yeah, and the Penguin also, he reiterated that they're considering a second season for that too, in that same interview. So that's exciting. I mean, the Penguin successfully made me want to see the Batman universe more, as we did there. And yeah, I think it sucks we're waiting so long, but we'll get there. All right, I know this is a surprise to the three of you, but we do have somebody backstage who has their camera, and they're all set this time. After last week, we talked to John Bailey last week. Jenna, have you played Marvel Rivals yet?
I still haven't yet. I hope to as soon as humanly possible, though. It looks like so much fun. I've been busy. Stuff has been going on, and I don't have the right Xbox yet. So if
I see you on Fortnite before you play Marvel Rivals. Anyway, Jeff the Land Shark continues to be an absolute phenomenon on social media, and I emailed and DM'd John to get him back on the show after we had the technical issues last week. Everybody, please say hello to Jeff the Land Shark.
You said that you said the last intro was the best you ever heard, so I just did her intro, but in Jeff's voice. So
wait, I think I was annoyingly talking over you. What did you say?
Oh
wow, you just did Rogue's line as Jeff the Shark. I don't know how to feel. Is this where are you in the booth right now where you do your audio for Rivals and
everything? No, Rivals was at a studio. This is my home studio.
They would never let you take those lines home.
No, there's no lines. What lines?
Dude, I see you're rocking Deadpool gear too, and I think you alluded yesterday that or last week. Time is
just a movie, people. You guys are too easy.
What?
There is no illusion. Everybody keeps acting like because I'm putting Deadpool stuff in my videos about it's the only Marvel apparel I have, folks. I've worked on Deadpool stuff before, so dissipate. But I know where people are going to automatically go in the comments as soon as you say that you're alluding. I have no idea who is coming to the game. I'm just making sure your fans know that.
I actually wasn't. And now, until you said it, I wasn't actually trying to allude that you're going to voice Deadpool in Marvel Rivals, even though that would be very cool if it happened.
That'd be cool. I'm here.
That would be cool.
Call. I'll wear those brown pants.
Well, I was going to say, but you have done maybe some Deadpool stuff in the past.
Ergo the outfits, yeah. I can either confirm or deny the D23 may have sounded familiar. But yeah, there's lots as Deadpool say, lots of stuff.
How do you when you do, whether it's D23 or elsewhere?
Allegedly.
What?
Allegedly. I don't know what you're talking about.
Allegedly.
I'm not always sure what I'm allowed to say, yes or no.
Maybe not D23. Wherever you do Deadpool, though, I mean, it's very cool. Like we just heard you just now. It sounded very much like the Ryan Reynolds voice of Deadpool.
I know.
Sometimes I feel like
time.
What?
Everywhere I go, it's just like I just say this stuff and people give me free gin.
I mean, with a character like Deadpool, are you Is it like an impression?
It's a sound-alike. It's a voice match. There's a big difference between an impression and I'll give this example when I'm teaching. When you do Arnold Schwarzenegger as a comedian, you're like over the top of it, but when you do his voice for real in the movie, he has to sound exactly like Arnold, so that way they don't know his voice has been ADR'd because it's not him, it's somebody else doing it right now until AI comes in and replaces us all. But I actually just straight up asked Disney when I came in. I was like, all right, AI, how long I got? They're like, we tried it. They said, yeah, go ahead. It just can't do what you guys can do, so you're good. I'm like, that makes me feel a little better for the time being. So yay, good job, Disney and Marvel, for not using AI to replace it.
That's good stuff. That's good to hear. I think that's you know Ross Marquand.
Of course.
Did you ever see that Impress Me show that they had on Pop
Of
TV?
course. I actually auditioned for the show.
Did you?
I was too good. They didn't want me. I was kidding.
That's what Ross said to me. He's a friend. He said, dude, John came in. He was going to overshadow me. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't do that. But have you ever had me taken care of? Dude, I just hear it in talking to you. You're so good at switching the voices so quickly. Like you could literally have a conversation with yourself, and I'm not opposed to asking you to do it right here on the show. But the concept of that show is like he has to fill in for celebrities who aren't showing up to do their ADR.
And if you guys don't know who Ross Marquand is, you would know him in Marvel as the voice of Red Skull in the Avengers. And was it Endgame or Infinity War? I forget.
Both.
Both, yeah, okay. But he also voices him in the show, and he's been other voices, and he was Professor Xavier in X-Men and other characters, which I was up for, by the way. Congratulations, Ross. But I actually the characters that I was up for, I came this close to being Beast, and then when I found out that they brought in the original cast, I'm like, that's great, because I don't love Beast, no offense, but it was cool to be in the room where it happened and be that close to being in it. He's not my favorite character of all, but you know, there was other characters that I liked a lot more that I auditioned for that I didn't get. That was a little more disappointing because I didn't feel like I was really right for Beast. He's not. I feel like if you're right for the character, it's got to be something that you love and you're passionate about, and you vibe with that character. Like me, I freaking am Jeff the Shark. I'm just a little chunky boy.
Wait, what did
my
your
spectrum
Beast...
sometimes carries my conversation over the edge. I'm sorry.
What did your Beast sound like?
It basically just sounded like the original. That's what they wanted me to do. They were going for as much as accurate as the original voices as they could at the time, which made me wonder if this was just temporary or they were still trying to figure it out or work on it. But I was just happy to be in the room where it happens, you know. But to get the call back and get that close, that's still pretty awesome. I'm still on the radar. And I've done a lot of other stuff for Marvel. People just didn't notice until I put on the dolphin suit.
Until what?
Until I put on Jeff's dolphin suit over my existing body. which is, by the way, comically accurate because he wanted to go to the beach and he was afraid he was going to scare the beachgoers. We got a dolphin costume.
Sometimes you got to put on some trunks.
It's adorable. The fact they made it pink, though, that made it even better. In the comic book, it was still gray. So in the game, it's very, very much obviously a costume.
So last week, we lost connection right as you were telling us about how you improvised the Jaws theme song.
Yeah. I came up with. I was just doing it as a joke, just dun, 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 and everybody kind of laughed. To be fair, though, I did try to get in Baby Shark and Godzilla because the game developers are Japanese, and the only reaction, the one creator was just this the entire time, just serious all the time. And the one time I did, da, 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 she went. I was like, oh, that was the biggest reaction I've seen in 2 days.
When you were recording Jeff the Land Shark for Rivals, were you hearing the other voices of the characters? Was there anything for you to work with, or were you just in there
No, I got the audition from my manager, and a lot of people don't understand. Like, it takes a long time just to get to the point where you have people that get the right auditions for you. So it's just so many steps you have to take just to even get into the circle, and then to book it, that's even bigger. So it literally just had I knew of Jeff the Shark, but I didn't know his origins, and it had the full comic, origin story for him. I was like, oh, that's freaking cool. And the reason why I liked it so much was because he is a cute little thing. So I knew that I would just have to create his language. But he was in the Deadpool universe, which is my favorite, So I already worked on the other Deadpool stuff, and I auditioned for Deadpool in Marvel Rivals, but ended up getting typecast as the announcer. they only recently had me come in as the voice of the Collector for the Vault, so at least I'm a character in it besides just oh snap. But I've got to do other cool stuff along the way and I've always kind of wanted to be in that main group and not just in the background or whatever. So I was like background voices in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I did the movie trailer voices for a ton of the Spider-Man movies, including the one that you saw in the Target Electronics department. So it's like there's a lot of little Marvel stuff I've done along the way. And then when I started working for Disney Imagineering and I got to do ADR for Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm like, maybe now they're actually paying attention. They're like, wow, you doing other voices. I didn't know you could do this too. I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm your guy. Just if you need a guy, I'm the guy.
Dude, well, watch, they're gonna call you for like a theme park ride before you know it.
Oh, I've already worked on theme park rides. That's why I worked for Disney Imagineering before. So they're like, you're here for this. They won't let me say. I can either confirm or deny that you could hear me in Disney World. I'm just going to say that without needing that guy's leg over there. But in Disneyland Paris and other things that I'm not allowed to talk about.
Dude, Disneyland Paris, their Avengers stuff at Disneyland Paris is insane.
Next level.
It's so cool.
Yeah, if you ever get to Iron Man.
Wink, I cried. I actually cried when I saw the animatronic.
They actually told me that, like, man, we would have you do Iron Man's because I did a little Iron Man for him. I mean, no offense to Josh Keaton, but mine's pretty good too. And they were like, man, we would have you do Iron Man if they didn't have a French guy doing it already.
Dude. So wait, before I let you go, man, how many people ask you to like, what would it be like if character X, Y, and Z had a conversation and then you like just have to act insane?
You know, very rarely do I get one of those kind of things. Usually it's "Did the roar." That's all I ever get.
It's what?
"Did the roar." They just want me to do Jeff. I'm like, say this. I was like, Jeff doesn't speak anything but Jeff. So anything you ask me to say is just going to sound like.
So, like, I mean, hypothetically, if Deadpool and Jeff met, like,
well, Deadpool did meet Jeff, by the way, in the saddest comic book ever, because Gwen dumped him off because she was afraid that he was going to get canceled, and she didn't want Jeff to get canceled. Every comic book apparently that Gwenpool went to, they got canceled. I didn't find this out until recently, which just makes it hilarious. So yeah, it's like, Jeff, please stop eating my arm. I know you're hungry. That's not food. Your food's over there. That's my other arm.
Oh my god, that's impressive, dude. That is one hell of a skill set you've got there, and I think it's awesome that so many people are discovering you now again from Jeff the Shark. I mean, your resume is insane. Like,
people just didn't notice the resume. You know, I said that I'm the guy nobody's heard, but everybody's heard of, or I'm the guy that everybody's heard, but nobody's heard of before. I'm just in stuff. You just don't notice.
I highly recommend everybody go on IMDb. Look at John's resume.
That's only a fraction. It's not even all on there, you guys. It's just, I don't even know how to update it. That's just the stuff that makes it on there.
Jesus.
I've booked over 10,000 jobs. People don't know. I'm everywhere, man.
What's it like having a job? I don't, that's
pretty awesome. It doesn't feel,
no one here knows.
Because it's a gig economy, it doesn't really feel like you have a job when you're always broke all the time. I'm always like, am I going to be homeless this month? I'm going to be on the street in Venice Beach going, we'll do Jeff the Shark noises for free.
Well, guess what? You are with the right people, my friend. John, dude, thank you so much for coming to hang, man. Congrats on the massively successful reception of Marvel Rivals, and Jeff absolutely just taking over my Instagram feed. And I think that's true of a lot of people, because every time one is in my feed, it's like 100,000 likes. And I'm like, holy shit, this thing is having a moment. It's awesome, dude.
It's like
if you ever want to stream Rivals,
however long that lasts,
dude, enjoy it, take advantage of it. And
I'll say one thing before I go. He's the perfect character to be, because they equally love or hate him, depending on if he's in their team. And after 40 years, I'm finally picked first at recess.
How much more Jeff the Shark dialogue do you think hasn't been heard yet?
I mean, he's kind of all there. It's, unless they have new DLC, they might have me do some new reacts, or, as they introduce, I'm assuming, because it's Marvel and they have infinite characters to pick from, I can make an educated wish that they're going to bring in more characters at some point. So they'll probably have him have specific interactions with the new characters down the road. So I'm guessing.
You clearly knew the Marvel Rivals theme song before the rest of the world did.
Well, yeah, that was how they announced Jeff, and that's how they announced me, and that's how they announced the theme song. And so a little behind the scenes, that was like the consensus that, like, you guys make the game, we provide the IP, well, we get to make the theme song. And they're like, okay. So they made this really difficult to sing theme song that the tracks weren't separated yet. So it was not like a line for me to go da 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 da. That wasn't there. It was all mixed together. And at the time, they didn't have a human singing the song to go along with yet. It was still AI'd until they found a singer. So I'm like, oh, okay. And they didn't warn me ahead of time, like, oh, you're going to be singing today. Can you sing? Do you sing? Can you hold a tune? So this is why I say when I coach voiceover, be prepared for any freaking thing, because you never know what's going to happen in the session.
Oh, man. That's awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much for coming to hang, dude. Anything we can do to support, let us know. Everybody go follow John. He's Epic Voice Guy on all social media. He's posting reels behind the scenes of some of the work he's been doing, and that's how I found it in my feed. I was like, dude, we got to talk about this. And I appreciate you coming in and joining him. I'm glad our internet connection works this week.
Yeah, it's almost like my professional studio has a great internet connection. Who knew?
Hell yeah! Imagine that, dude. Well, thank you. The voices that have been laid down in that studio, my God.
Yeah. Well, and the voices and the voice of Jeff, which means Jeff is love, Jeff is life. Bye, everybody.
Wow. Thanks. All right, I'm gonna take him out. Wow. That's such a good party trick. I didn't know. I had invited John on, and I didn't know if he was gonna. I hadn't heard back from him, so I assumed he wasn't coming. And I'm glad he did, because that's just really cool to hear from him.
The beauty of Phase Hero is we can go as long as we want.
That's
true.
There's no one telling us to stop. That was
Yeah.
really cool. My ears really perked up when he said that he coaches, because my 2025 goal is to take some like voice classes.
Ooh.
And so I was like, oh, how do you get involved in that? I'm sure he's just like private type stuff though. But that's one of my favorite talents. That was like really impressive. Obviously, I haven't played the game because I played Tony Hawk Underground yesterday for the first time. I was 20 years late to that game.
Amen.
So maybe in 20 years I'll play Marvel.
Well, our last topic is our non-comic movie of the week, and Jamie, I believe you're excited for this one.
Oh, heck yeah. Jurassic World Rebirth. I'm just excited for this cast. I'm excited that it's kind of a whole new thing. Gareth Edwards, I think, is going to crush. He talked to Entertainment Weekly. He said I can't speak for Universal, but it did feel like a new trilogy in a way. I'm not sure what their plans are, but it felt like the beginning of a brand new chapter to the franchise. To me, it's a giant love letter to Steven Spielberg of his earlier films. There are moments in this movie that remind me very much of Jaws. That's cool. It's like the little greatest hits of all those aspects of his films, and I love growing up as a child. It's essentially a little adventure odyssey around this island, a survival story, really. And apparently, in the synopsis, the movie takes place 5 years after Dominion, a quote in which dinosaurs mingled with humans all over the globe. These creatures are now dying out. The present-day planet proved to be inhospitable to the prehistoric ilk, except for a small region in the tropics around the equator, where many of them now congregate. The three most colossal dinosaurs of the land, sea, and air within this biosphere hold genetic material precious to the pharmaceutical company that hopes to use the dino DNA to create life-saving drug for humanity. Wow, I think it's really funny that they're like, we can't have these dinosaurs everywhere. Dinosaurs everywhere? Too much. Let's put them back in one regulated place. I think is a really funny choice.
Go ahead, B.
The world's inability to handle dinosaurs properly, just in any way that they exist in this Jurassic world, I just find hilarious. I think it's funny that we just, as the comment section pointed out, went from John Bailey to Jonathan Bailey, with Jonathan Bailey being in this movie after being an absolute standout in Wicked. I'm excited for this movie. I think July of 2025 is going to be a good time at the movies. My goodness, next summer is shaping up. This one, I'm a big Gareth Edwards fan, so him honoring Spielberg, like you just said, Jamie, that's awesome. I thought the creator was phenomenal. I like his Godzilla quite a bit. I thought when he was up for Thor, maybe I was like, hell yeah. But he's doing Jurassic, which this is an instance where a filmmaker and their name and their resume has me more excited for the franchise than the franchise itself, especially after the last few movies.
I'm so happy to see Jonathan Bailey in more franchise stuff, especially after Wicked. Like, I feel like by the end of 2025, he's going to be in the contention for like the highest grossing actor, just in terms of box office. Hearing the lore and the pharmaceutical stuff is very interesting. Very curious to see how that pans out. I do wish we had a first look photo of an actual dinosaur, because it feels like it's just showing the humans at this point. But I'm sure when we get to the trailer for it, whenever we do get that, it's going to definitely show us dinosaurs. So I'm excited.
I've heard good things about the dinosaurs from the team at ILM. From multiple people who work at ILM, I've heard about just the way that they're gonna, like, they wouldn't tell me much, but they just said like what Gareth did, what the team did. It's sort of new VFX tech and stuff they're using, and it's gonna look like they're all really excited about it. I don't think they would tell me if they weren't. But I believe that they're all doing something special with the effects in this movie, and I think it's an opportunity to do something cool. All right, we're gonna wrap up the show by answering this question: do you think they'll release Fantastic Four in summer 2025? Though, yes, I think I'm of the belief now that Fantastic Four is going to hold its date.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too.
I'm convinced.
Yeah.
It's won me back. I've been hurt before, so we'll see. But
something changed. What motive? I'm confused.
I think it's just people wondering with the box office of like with Superman, with Jurassic, like should FF move to maybe like have more runway or to finish its like VFX a little bit more. I don't know. I still believe that we'll probably get
Fantastic Four is sorry for a second. I thought it was July.
Yeah.
That's in May, right?
No, Thunderbolts is in May.
Thunderbolts is in May. Fantastic Four is in July.
2 weeks after Superman. Yeah.
There is, of course, a chance that Fantastic Four moves back to that Blade date. But Fantastic Four feels like a summer movie more than a like Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah.
So I think it's holding. I think it kind of sucks for Superman that it's holding. And it kind of said like to have them so close together, they're undeniably going to a few tickets will be sold to one and not the other because they're so close. That's just inevitable. But it's not, I don't think it's going to make a huge dent either way.
Earlier, C Black super chatted us and asked what superhero movie does the best in the box office next year. I feel like that's a really good question, and I think it's gonna come down to quality. But ultimately, I think Superman's the most likely.
I can't.
That's
find
my
that
guess.
comment.
I agree with that. I think like up until we have gotten all this stuff this week, I had held the belief that they needed a Barbie level marketing campaign for Superman, and it feels like we're already getting that just based off of the past couple of days. And so if they keep going with that, if they keep reminding people that this movie is out there and they keep making it something that like the general audience is really looking forward to, I could easily see it getting close to Barbie numbers.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance it's Superman. I guess if we're only talking superhero movies, I do think there's a good chance it's Superman. I don't know that there's $1 billion superhero movie next year. I think Superman has a chance to I think it's going to come down to reviews and the press tours more than anything. Fantastic Four is going to be the highest grossing Marvel movie of next year. Superman is going to be a hit, I think, unless it's terrible. And I don't think it's going to be terrible. I also don't think Fantastic Four is going to be terrible. So I think they're both going to have fresh review scores on Rotten Tomatoes, casts that people really like. But I think James Gunn is a factor more than Matt Shakman. So you like in terms of ticket sales, James Gunn sells more tickets than Shakman does. If you're going off of star power, Pedro Pascal sells more tickets than David Cornsweet right now. I think the Superman tour is going to make Cornsweet a bit of a heartthrob. Pedro already is that to the point that people started getting a little tired of it, but a lot of people still love him. Layla will love Pedro forever. So I don't know. There's just so many things you could look at to try to have this conversation and make these predictions.
I know that we're mostly focused on superhero, but Jurassic always cleans up internationally. Yeah. Like there's a good chance that it could sweep all of these movies.
And Wicked Part 2 is next year too.
Yeah. Wicked.
Mm.
There's a few movies next year that I think could do banger numbers. And there's a chance a comic book movie is not the biggest movie of the year.
Aaron?
I think that's absolutely a factor. Like Wicked and Jurassic like loom pretty large for me randomly. Like you wouldn't have thought that going into this year, but now you're like, oh my God, like that's be a problem. I always point out about the last Jurassic World movie, say what you will about the reception or whatever. It's a Rise of Skywalker situation where it still did $1 billion. Like who cares? There's also a weird bit though, I want to say with Fantastic Four where it has a puncher's chance. And that is, will you put RDJ in a trailer? Will you do it? Because if you put him in a trailer, people will show up. People will show up. They'll drop everything.
No chance they put him in a trailer before week 1 is over.
Yeah.
If he's in the movie, there's no way he's in a trailer before it comes out.
The trailer department's been so weird. The trailer department's been so weird.
I mean, maybe you show like the back of Doom's cape and like hood.
There you go.
Maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't know. But also, is there like another animated movie we're forgetting? Because Moana 2, Inside Out 2.
The Stitch next year?
Yes.
Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
There's
Zootopia.
Yeah.
Oh, Zootopia 2. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
when do my girls come back? When's Frozen 3?
I think that's still a ways away, if I remember.
Oh God, that's 2027.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Jamie.
Yeah, we'll see. Everybody in the comments, let us know what you think will be the biggest superhero movie of the year. That's a great question. Thank you, C Black, for the super chat. And I'm interested to see what everybody who listens to Phase Hero has to say. Aaron, any last words for today's show?
Oh, it's at Summer Lake Hornet across all the things. I want you to go watch the lovely people on my, would it be stage left side? Yes, I did the right hand. Oh my God. Brandon's superhero, like Superman visit to Cleveland. Brandon's second time in Cleveland. Jamie surprising Tony with everything that happened in S.H.I.E.L.D. with a very important episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. that I was so gagged to even be around. And Jenna's Superman breakdown and all of the Creature Commandos coverage as promoted by one James Gunn. All over everywhere. All the time. Watch. We're just gonna wake up. We're gonna wake up tomorrow. She's gonna be in the trailer. Watch.
Daily Planet reporter Jenna Anderson.
That is it.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Thank you for that plug, Aaron. This week on Love in the Time of Hydra's Patreon, we are doing Once Upon a Christmas Miracle, which is a Hallmark movie starring Brett, who plays Ward on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But our guest is Vera Drew, the director and star of The People's Joker. And Vera talking about a Hallmark movie is going to be you won't want to miss it. So it's only $1 a month to join our Patreon. And then in January, we're starting Agent Carter because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't come back till March. So check that out. Follow me on Letterboxd at Jamie Jarek, at Jamie Jarek on Blue Sky. I'm recommending movies every day over there. So do that. And if you are going to the movies, don't take your phone out. What are you, a monster?
It's at Hey It's Jenna Lynn on social media. Go read some comics and go subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is also called Go Read Some Comics, as Aaron plugged earlier. I'm so close to 3,000 subscribers, so definitely go subscribe if you haven't already done so. And tomorrow will be crazy with the Superman trailer with Creature Commandos episode 4. I will be posting a lot of videos, so be sure to be subscribed.
B, can I have one last goofy thing? Shout out to the last Sam Goodies that are closing now. They just announced they're closing the last Sam Goodies. If you love physical media, sad. Where are we going to buy movies from, guys?
Not Best Buy, not Target, not Sam Goodies.
Dear God. Ugh.
All right, y'all. That is our phase hero for the day. 6:10 a.m. Pacific time, Thursday morning. Jenna and I will be live. We will have a guest with us. I promise, not James Gunn. I'm not hiding from something from you. I'm honestly locking the person in. It's just going to be a well-educated friend, and that's what we'll say, to talk about Superman, immediately react to it, and just be there for the excitement launching the DC Universe. Creature Commandos Episode 4 also launches tomorrow. It's a heavy one, so get yourself ready for that. And yeah, please continue to subscribe to the channel. Follow me on socials. Follow my friends here on their socials. And let's just keep doing the thing. Play our show for your dad. Play it for your cat. And we will see you tomorrow morning and again Friday for the interviews with Brad Winderbaum and Brian Andrews for What If Season 3. And then back to regularly scheduled Wednesday shows next week. See you there.
You